Hello and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Melvin the Crimson Taurus, and sadly, Niema can't be here with us. She's somewhere in the world trying to find Atlantis, so, good luck with that, Niema. But as you guys know, if I'm live and it's a podcast and you can read, then you know I'm not alone. And today is no exception. Joining me is a sometimes controversial figure, a man of great knowledge and passion, an emissary of the one true dragon, the man behind Soul Science, and author of Black Magick of Ahriman, perhaps the Batman of the occult. Please welcome Kurtis Joseph.
Great to be here, man. That was definitely a dramatic introduction. Greatly appreciated.
That's how we do it here.
Yeah, controversial for sure, man. I don't know if I'd have it any other way, to be honest.
Oh, really? You like the controversy, huh?
Well, not really that, dude. It's the worldview and the lifestyle. You see, if you're not rattling the cage or the bars of the cage, you're not adversarial at all. And the whole reason for rattling the bars of the cage is not necessarily rebellion for the sake of rebellion. You have a higher cause behind it all. You know what I mean? And for me, it's the empowerment of mankind, the dispensation of true knowledge that can be applied in this world directly to become something greater through everything we do, as we touched on before the show.
To become something great. That sounds poetic.
Mhm.
So, for those
And
for those who don't know, Kurtis, who the heck are you?
well, I am very multifaceted. Kurtis Joseph is really just a title. I am a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm an author, I'm a teacher of occult sciences and martial arts. Um, I studied drafting, power equipment mechanics. I'm a state tested nurse's aide. I have the equivalent of a 2-year Bible degree. ISSA certified personal trainer at one point in my life, martial arts instructor, Junfan Jeet Kune Do concepts and Filipino martial arts specifically. Um, I'm an artist. I'm an occultist. I am nothing. And so my potential, I try to fulfill it through many different avenues. You know what I mean?
Now, that's interesting you say you're nothing, because in some ways you could say you're nothing in all things. And what I mean by that is if we look at nothing, the number zero, it can evolve and change into anything. And I think it's important that people remember that we can be or become anything. It's just a matter of willpower and will you put in the work?
Exactly. I mean, that's really something that's big within the 166 current is nothingness. Within Chinese martial arts, well, within Chinese culture, they call it Wushin, no mind. A lot of people need to understand that it is this state of gnosis, no thing, knowing. Gnosis is really to transcend human thought and enter a state of knowing. It's a way of being. A lot of people misconstrue gnosis with information that spirits will give you, through spiritual dialogues that you're having. Mm. It's not always the case, though. So, this no mind is what we call draconian consciousness. You know what I mean? And martial arts is something that aligns very closely with Ordo Dracontia, what we call soul science to the public. Um, so that Eastern thought remains woven into the fabric of it all, even though there's a very obvious influence on using modern archetypes of both light and darkness to fulfill our alchemical objective through the rituals, through the magic, you know. But there's a lot of practical insight that you gain by beginning to understand that these things are mutually dependent, like the conscious and subconscious mind. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned darkness, and you sort of had to take a trip to the dark side of yourself. And part of this is documented in the Black Magick of Ahriman.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
if you guys don't know about it, check out my review after the show and then get yourself Black Magick of Ahriman. Um, who is Aruman?
Well, historically, Aruman is humanity's first devil, the first being which represented absolute evil and darkness and destruction and wickedness. You see, before Zoroastrianism, um, gods and goddesses were presented as pretty much like human beings. You could see it in the Norse pantheons. You could see it in the Vedic traditions. Gods, goddesses, they had personalities. They weren't really light or dark. They had their quirks, specific offerings that should be given, specific mantras, blah, blah, blah. Aruman was different. Ahura Mazda was different. This is when they started to say that this was a dual universe and there was a war occurring between light and darkness. And a lot of this, the creation of this religious doctrine, it occurred at the hands of politicians, some of which are recorded in the Bible.
Well, religion is a tool for politicians. I mean, we know for a fact the Vatican, that they're political, it's a political group, and they use
Absolutely.
religion as a way of control. And with Black Magick of Ahriman, you talk about this. You talk about control, and you talk about us being enslaved, essentially. And, before we actually get into that, how did you come up with Black Magick of Ahriman?
Well, Aruman was an entity that I was introduced to when I was working within Michael W. Ford's The Order of Phosphorus. Originally, I was very put off by Aruman. Um, it just did not resonate with me. A teacher that I had around this period of my life said, "Look, you're a loyal adept. I need you to pursue this specific objective magically." I pursued the objective magically as well as practically. And I it had great effects. We'll just say the target of that person treats people a lot differently now because of the curse. So I know that my heart was in the right place when I did it. But I started to see how this darkness actually worked. And then Aruman just came forth. It was like the very force that I was trying to keep away from was the very force that decided, oh, that's why it's his job. And that's how it happened. I started to experience some very interesting phenomenon. It started out very subtle. And then dream. And then finally this encounter, like, okay, are you? Who are you? And that was the encounter with evil mind, Akomana. And it just laid the stage. Um, I think it was the fact that I was so put off by it that I had to do it. I think it was about breaking my own limitations, facing my own limitations, you know?
Yeah, face your fears,
Yeah.
you know, and
I mean, it was circumstances too, man, because what I want people to really know is that people didn't recognize me. I was going through what we would call the dark night of the soul experience. And Aruman was just a vehicle for that. And during that experience, dude, a lot of people and a lot of teachers, they'll sit there and they'll tell you, put down your magical work, just put everything down, rest, know that it's going to be okay, get through it. I couldn't. I mean, I was on the streets, friends didn't recognize me. It was crazy. All I looked forward to was that work. All I looked forward to was contact with that darkness. They started to become almost like friends. And that was my almost downfall because they will trick you, they will tempt you and taunt you to begin to see them as something you should worship. And once you do that, things get kind of rough, to say, well, to put things simple. Yeah.
ooh, that's some tough stuff, Curtis. And I was actually going to ask you, what changes did you go through, like compared to the before and the after? Because what you describe in Black Magick of Ahriman, like you went through it. You know, that's a 12-round fight with Tyson. You're going through it. And I don't think if you make it through, I don't think you come out how you were no matter what.
No.
So like what changes happened, and do you think they're all positive, or are there a couple of negatives you wish you could just get rid of?
The ones that would be considered negative are only negative to those outside of myself because there's parts of me that simply aren't wrong and it can back it up. And people have a hard time with that. It's not to say that I am all knowing, it's not to say that I'm perfect, but there are parts of me, things that turn on under unjust opposition. I guess we can say that yeah, evil mind, Aruman, he's an evolutionary force. Everything you do to resist him, he just evolves and envelops you with darkness. And I've taken that on in a way through what we would call evil mind. Is it negative? Not to me. It's negative to a lot of people. Um, but It comes from being present, man. It's really just this state of gnosis. It's really what enlightenment is about. Within Black Magick of Ahriman, we started to coin the term endarkenment because of that book and what it really represented. A lot of people started to call it counter cosmic Satanism. It's not Satanism, though. It's just about liberation. So, before and after, let's talk a little bit about that. Before, I was very much limited to this left hand path ideology. I was very limited to being anti Christian. I was stuck in this sheep mentality that permeates the left hand path, even though they are preaching a message of antinomian liberation. It's really, these days, they become what they hate. You always become what you hate. That's all I really want to say in regard to that. But this is something way different that represents liberating mankind, liberating the psyche, exploring the origins of our ignorance, exposing some of the programming and the political sway that religious doctrines are molded by, showing people how the separation of church and state is an illusion. These are all very practical things, right?
Mhm.
Pointing out the origins of the military war machine, talking about how the educational system essentially teaches you to memorize what they say as facts rather than exploring truth, actually developing intelligence and contributing to mankind through that exploration, right? Free will doesn't exist. This is an illusion. Religion talks about it constantly, how we have free will. But according to science, this is a fallacy. 99% of every thought, word, and deed is predicated by some subconscious predisposition that's usually created through external sources, such as religion, politics, television programming, media, misinformation, etc., etc. All of this shit is practical, but it's part of the spiritual evolution. So before I was limited, but then I was liberated. Now I perceive things through this lens of totality. My mind is open to the truth of spiritual evolution, a roadmap that is progressive, that has specific checks and balances in place, and it was gifted through my work with the spirits. And it's fucking empowering people. It has strengthened me in ways that, I mean, I can't even really describe with human words. Some of the things I went through writing that book, and even after its publication, not just within the community, if you want to call it that, but in my personal life, oh my God, I endured some shit. And what can you do now? Like, people have tried to break me in so many ways, and no, it
Uh,
doesn't happen.
so this is something that in my review I said this is not for beginners, and chances are, if you are an established occultist or you have your path, your workings or whatever, if you go down this path of darkness, this evil eye, you're working with Aruman, whatever, you would have to most likely rewire your way of thinking. You'd have to be broken down, and you will have to face yourself, the ugly part of yourself.
Yeah.
Now, are there, in your opinion, signs or tests that lets a person know, like, this is for you, you need to do this, or if it's a sign that says you're ready to go down this path?
A lot of people will read that book and immediately assume that it isn't for beginners. And the reason why is because it's not an easy read. It is not a book that you can read. It's a book you have to think your way through. You'll start finding yourself most likely looking shit up because the personal experiences and the way the spirits allowed me to, they told me to integrate that. I've made so many mistakes so that the path of the people following the current didn't have to be so rough. See, for the Zanda, the one working out of that text, all the proper warnings are in place. There's a perfect roadmap to get through it as smoothly as possible, right? Um, but it's sometimes actually an advantage to be a beginner because you don't have to unlearn. And that's why beginners can very easily approach Black Magick of Ahriman. You just got to understand that it's something you have to think your way through.
Okay.
I I've tried to do journalism and I couldn't because it was impossible for me to write at a sixth grade reading level. Um, but that's not really why the book is hard to read. The book is hard to read because of the depth of the content, the depth of the material, and the insight. It's crazy. The understanding that is presented, that was given and gifted and inspired by these dark, supposedly evil forces. It's deep and it almost slaps you in the face. It's almost rude. I mean, it is. It does. It slaughters every fucking sacred cow, tells every god to burn in the hell of its own making. It is to completely forsake all that is sacred and indulge your deepest, darkest parts of self. And that is so fucking dangerous at a psychological level. You start letting that shit out to play, you better be compelling it towards something creative and productive, conducive to harmony. And that's another way that it has strengthened me and changed me. Um, but it was going through the shit. It was experiencing the shit. That's what taught me.
Yeah, makes you stronger. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and
Right.
from
Yeah. Not to
chaos,
be
order is
cliche,
born.
but yeah, man.
So, and yeah, it's a lot of information in that book. A lot.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. Like, and that's just the God's honest truth. It's an overwhelming, like, you told me how long it took you to write everything. Go ahead and share with the audience how long it took you to complete Black Magick of Ahriman.
5 years. I
Five.
invested 5 years of my life cultivating that current. That's why it's so comprehensive. That work began in a Facebook group called the Temple of the Adversarial Forge. It was a group of around 24 sorcerers. I tried to keep it right at that number, but they were from all over the fucking world. And we would just trade ideas, talk to each other about what we were working on, astral experiences, things like this. Well, I started to share some of the concepts that I was learning from these spirits. And I started to teach some people behind the scenes. And that's really as the spirits were taking hold of me. And in order to feel like I wasn't crazy, I would give people certain parts of it to apply and see what their results would be like. People that knew that they were lab rats, of course. And yeah, the results were phenomenal. So
I'm
yeah,
going to share a little something. So uh, this month I said I would make a change with myself. I'm no matter what, I'm going to be more positive, see things in a better light, and do some workings with spirit. And I decided to include some of your teachings from Black Magick of Ahriman. And let me tell you, I can't explain it. I'm not going to try to explain it, but things are opening up, and at the very least I'm walking away with it with a way better attitude and just feeling overall like this sounds stupid but powerful. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
oh
that
yeah,
that's how I could put it.
it
Powerful.
does, dude. It's tempting to let it get to your head after a couple years, but I've always allowed it to be the impetus for great humility because I recognize being in a position of teacher, it's an honor and it's a privilege. And I learn just as much from my students as they learn from me, you know.
Mhm.
Um, they are the reason that my curriculum and my teaching keeps getting more and more refined, better and better each and every year. It's their questions, their curiosity, their childlike wonder, their willingness to explore and think beyond the box and grow to become something greater that can contribute to the world, man. And it's like, wow, the shit's alive. So it's magic because it's life. Life is magic. And that's the thing, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When you start to actually grow on this path, your life becomes more magical and your magic becomes more grounded and easily anchored and manifest in this world. It's like these two principles are a representation of the crossroads in the way. It's the crossroads of manifestation. It's the veil between what you desire and what you have now. It's wonderful thing.
So, and I'm getting ready to butcher names, so please just correct every butcher I make. But Ahura
Hero Mazda.
Ahura Mazda, thank you.
Mazda. Yep.
He, like, doing my research and everything, it said that him and Angra Manu, aka Aruman, are twins. And one is light, one is dark. And of course, when we hear light, dark, we as people usually assume good, evil, because dark is bad, light good, which, it's a ridiculous concept, but it is what it is. What's your take on that? Do you think they're twins? And do you think one is actually good, one is actually evil?
No, that originates from, I guess, what we could consider a Gnostic Zoroastrian cult. We consider it a heresy. It's a heresy both to the Zarathustrians as well as to the Zanda, or those following the path of smoke. We do not see time as a god. Zervan, time, according to that lore, is the god who is above both Aruman and Ahura Mazda. We don't accept linear time as counter creative sorcerers. Yatu, Perika, We instead focus on circumventing limitations and creating something else that's more effective for us. There's no twin nothing. And that was really the beginning of the book, because I started to wonder if God and the devil were two sides of the same coin, right?
Mhm.
I talked about that in the beginning of the text. That's why, no, we don't accept the Zerbanite tale. That was created by a specific div, the div of evil speech, if I remember correctly. Sovar. Yeah. And it was meant to lead the Zarathustrians astray, but also separate the weak from the true path of smoke brought forth by Aruman in this aeon. Deep, yeah.
Uh,
But that's what's penned in the book, if I remember correctly.
yeah. You got to read your own work, darn it.
Right?
So I'm happy you mentioned the path of smoke, because this is one of the workings that's in there, the path of smoke. And then first, where did these names come from? Like, I got to get to my notes real quick. Like the venomous thing that's an elixir that you make, and counter creation. Like, I mean, some of these names are a little quote unquote edgy. Where did those come from first? That's just out of for my own curiosity.
Well, they came from the spirits. The whole objective was to get people to get evil put in the middle of their fucking forehead. Look at this. This is fucking real. Face it. So those edgy names, I think the spirits use them as a vehicle to maintain that vibration throughout the work, because there's a lot of shocking shit in there. As you begin to think your way through that book, dude, your worldview shifts. Things change inside of you, even when you don't do the work.
Well,
It's a lot.
unbeknownst to you, you just
Frank.
answered a question for Scarlett, because she she asks, "Can a person just read it and not have the effects of total freaking destruction? You know how some
Oh
books are
yeah,
just magic as soon as you open it."
yeah. No, it's not. I'm telling you, for me, it was that way, guys, because as the person bringing it forth, I need to have clear cut methods for people who are following this thing, so they don't make my mistakes, so they don't make the mistakes that I made. I experienced hell on earth. I was going through the dark night of the soul anyway. It was a sort of initiation, I think, for my subconscious mind. You know, like how can I express these nasty fucking parts of me through this fucking work? And so I would awaken these forces within me, like, wake up, right. And they would come at me in dreams and give me instructions to share. And I do things and I try to insert my own twist, and I'd fuck shit up. And so I'd have to write clear cut warnings. You know, my path was my fault. I'll put it like that. I mean, even somebody who considers themselves to be my enemy these days, we're not. But he has considered me as reckless. I've been called reckless by some magicians, and I can't say they're wrong. But yeah, you're going to read it, and what's going to happen is your own thought process will start. It's not going to wreak havoc in your life. It's going to be fucking illuminating. And sometimes that can be fucking depressing. But after that, there's so much growth, because you find out, you know, here's the thing. It was ironic because this was released under Become a Living God. And this book It was about becoming the devil, becoming the devil himself. And that's the thing. You look in the mirror and you realize, holy shit, I am the devil, and therefore I am God. But all the mystical parts of it fucking disappear. You don't get fed by this delusion. It's just this literal realization that you are responsible for your life and you have the strength and power to change shit. Whether you believe it's through magic or fucking sorcery or through practical action in the world, usually it's a little bit of both for me. You know, I try to find that balance. I know that what I do, it's not blind faith. Um, so yeah, man, read it. Just read it and have fun thinking your way through it because it really is engaging.
I will
It's old.
say that for me, and I mentioned this in the review, this was about anarchy and rebellion, resisting and seeing your true self. I think everyone's going to get something different from it, and perhaps we'll see what it is that we blocked off of ourselves. And for me, I'm a fairly calm, laid back, like, don't put me in this type of person. I'm not very much of a rebel, depending. And reading this, it's like, huh, maybe I should be. Maybe I should speak up more and open up more and not be so afraid to try different things. And but that's for me. For someone
Right.
else, they might see it as, huh, I've been doing this. Maybe I should take a step back a little bit and maybe I can help someone else come out of their shell and be stronger or introduce them to something different. I think everyone will get something different, but it's definitely worth the read, even if you don't practice, because, you guys know I'm not really a practicer of anything, but it's definitely worth the read. And I don't think it's going to make you explode or nothing like that.
No.
I think you're safe. um
Yeah,
now
you are. You're safe to read it. It's
yeah.
a path of growth. You got to understand there is specific marketing going on in regard to that work too. That, you know, doing things now on my own, like people don't really need the personal experience. I'm approaching things differently. That sort of marketing, it existed for their reasons to benefit that platform, and that was their job. Cool, more power to you. Um, I still managed to maintain myself through that whole process, though. You know, I started to get told I needed to dress in like post-apocalyptic like clothing and shit like that.
uh,
No, dude, I'm gonna be me and wear my fucking jeans and t-shirts. You know what I mean? Because I loved who I was. I loved that I survived the fucking work. And I loved that the process itself was like exercising my own demons. You know, it really was. It was like exercising my own demons. And according to that lore, it was the equivalent. Yeah, it was. I put them on paper for everybody to meet. And what's fun about it all is they are parts of all of us. Within Black Magick of Ahriman, within that lore, we are not born into sin like Christians are. Sin is born as a part of you. The divs are within you. Their earlier epithets reveal this, angra mainyu. That's simply evil inspiration. That's the earliest epithet of Aruman. And it's really cool. Hopefully Scarlet comes on Friday, because this means these ancient peoples saw the gods as parts of the psyche. Huh, interesting.
Yeah, you just had an aha moment.
No,
No.
it's just a thought that I've been having for some time. Spentamenu, good inspiration. But what makes something good? See, it was the military class. It was the priestly caste. These things were two peas in a pod.
Uh, let's talk about good and evil for a moment. Are you a believer in good and evil?
I am a believer in right and wrong. Good and evil are always going to be subjective. There's things that are evil, man. I mean, look, let me break this down, because I want everybody to know this. There's this modern trend within the left-hand path that's based on Nietzsche. And it is the fact that Nietzsche exclaimed that good and evil were subjective. They didn't exist. But to give people a little context, he was talking about money. See, Christians at the time oftentimes said people with money were people with power. Therefore, people with money were people who were evil. So Nietzsche replied by saying, well, I guess good and evil. It must be subjective. And yeah, okay, then I'm evil. Whatever. But that had nothing to do with saying that good and evil as a whole did not exist. Like raping children is fucking wrong. You can't say that that's good subjectively, though you technically could, because the rapist, it's great for them because they're sick, right? But we can't allow our own moral codes to be broken. But see, here's the thing, almost universally, our moral codes by instinct, they're similar. Before you get societal structures that force people into positions of going without, at the most natural and instinctive level, no human being other than the mentally ill is going to want to harm other people. People will, for the most part, help each other, find solutions to problems, and operate as a community. Anarchy is very much based on this sort of ideology, right?
Hmm.
It's not this idea of chaos and the apocalypse that people make it out to be.
No, it's self governance. Like, don't
Yeah,
have an overlord.
sovereignty. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know what I mean? So the empowerment, man, it happens psychologically as well. Your psyche, through these experiences, through working with these different spirits, it molds and shapes your psyche in a different way, because you're embracing shit like evil thought, evil word, evil deed. But then you learn what these things are. Evil thought is simply not thinking like everyone else, thinking for yourself. It's evil because it's not what everyone else does who thinks they're doing what is good. Evil word, it's not wasting words. When you're saying something, make sure it's fucking important. Is it contributing to the world? Like, I have a real issue with small talk, man. And I hate to admit it, it's a quirk of mine. Like, I have an issue with small talk since working with Sovar specifically. I mean, he was able to show me, and this is why mantras work, how the words we speak will literally pollute the fabric of our reality. So will our thoughts. Evil thought is being able to control that, to mold your reality in a way that suits you. Evil words is being able to use your words to create harmony in relationships so that people are more likely to work for you rather than against you. Too bad that doesn't work for me, right? But then evil deed, it's fucking achieving. People hate when people fucking achieve. When you start achieving the momentum of resistance, my God, it increases so much. And having perseverance to just follow through and fucking do it anyway because it's a goal you want to achieve, it's something you want to do. That's what we have to do to enjoy life. That's how when we are on our deathbed, we don't have to look back and say, man, I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have done better. You got your kids next to you on your deathbed and you're like, I'm sorry. This world is shit and I didn't really contribute anything. That's not going to be me, man. You know, I love evolving. I love learning. This entire process has been one of keeping me in my place. Some people would consider me arrogant. They'll say I have a very powerful personality. It's not arrogance. Guys, I am not anything but passionate. I don't take credit for the shit that I teach. I'm not that smart. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to teach it, to bring it into the world. And I remember where my blessings come from. You know, I'm in a constant state of gratefulness. Even in the middle of fucking chaos, I maintain this beautiful gratefulness and peace that is found by finding that comfort that exists within the deepest, darkest parts of self. You know, you just fall inward and you let it embrace you and you find peace.
Now, you mentioned you love learning new things, gaining knowledge,
Mhm.
and recently you've been doing some stuff with 3D printing. And
Yeah,
I am in love with what the creations you've come up with, especially one that I'm just going to steal from you. I'm just going to go over there and steal it. And that's Batman. And
yeah.
does that also bring you peace as well? Since you just mentioned peace, because you have a passion there.
Man, the past few years have been nothing but people trying to unalive me, dude. And the numbers just would keep growing. And I got to this point where like I am just not going to do this bullshit. I'm going to take Lucifer's advice, as I penned in Alchemy of Halo and Horn, the Lucifer Compendium. The secret to waging this war and winning is to simply not be a part of it. It's to focus on the creation of something else, that which you desire. So that's what I've been doing. So I went through this phase of creating candles, going through that, and I learned it and I like it. I still make candles, still make all my own. And yeah, so I injured my shoulder, had a hard time moving. I couldn't do as much training. So I just decided somehow I was going to get some 3D printers. Well, to get a 3D printer, I I've got 4 now, and then another company is about to send me another one to review. Um, I I just love it. And my whole passion is to bring this ancient art of iconography alive in modern times, in modern context. You know what I mean? And really give people the opportunity to start working with the spirits in this way, because there's a lot of people doing things like utilizing incense blends. I even teach a specific science of creating incense blends that align with each specific spirit you're calling upon. But when you can utilize, you know, an image, I haven't finished Astaroth yet, you know, and you can use these as a manifestation base, the spirit automatically starts to leave traces of its essence, especially when you put forth the artistic effort to paint it and make it your own. My God, it's powerful. It's just powerful.
You got
And
to
you can
show
have fun
Batman.
too.
Yeah,
Like,
there
yeah,
you
like
go.
Batman.
I'm still in that sucker. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have fun. Like, I wanted to start a big ass Michael Keaton Batman. This is Senor La Muerte. But I didn't get him started today, man. I have some Santa Muerte that are my specific design. I want to get a few of those done for the public because they're unique. There's a lot of mass produced shit out there. I've got a couple for her that I really want to release because they're unique and they embrace and express her femininity, you know. Um, and that's really what I want for her. I think she deserves that as a goddess. A lot of these statues, you know, that are mass produced in Beijing, they're loaded with cheap charms. I want to load mine according to tradition, you know,
And
not with I Ching coins that are made out of plastic.
I have to bring up something too. Your softer side was showing, Kurtis. So we don't get that too much, but you were totally like a little kid, smile like, "Oh yeah, I love it, I love it." So you guys enjoy that before he goes back into warrior
Yeah,
mode.
man. Like, okay, these altar pentacles I'm loving as well, dude. The sigils with this version of the Seal of Solomon on the back. I mean, it's such a powerful way to connect the daemon to your sorcery without having to do a full evocation. You know, you simply activate the sigil, you turn the pentacle around, and you use it as your pentacle on your altar of sorcery. You consecrate the elements of the jar spell and you just do your shit. And Payman's essence will be employed towards the objective. It's so fucking cool. Like the spirits are teaching me through this entire process. And it's fun. So there's definitely some self-expression going on here. The Batman bust was fun. And I do plan on actually starting another channel specific to that kind of shit. Because I'm going to be doing tons of hero statuary, cosplay. Guys, I got so many fun cosplay projects to do.
Now
It's
that
gonna
that's
be
that's gonna probably trip people out a little bit. Like, wait, he's a cosplayer? What?
Mhm.
Didn't see that
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, man, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I am loving it. It's great. So
Okay.
yeah, it's done that too, dude. Like you go through that darkness, and that's what turns on the inner light. I guess that's allegorically how it happened for me. You know, yeah. But it was a long fucking process, and it didn't end just after that book. Holy shit!
No, still
Not with
going.
my baby's mama. Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. I'm in on some of the no. So yeah, I'm sorry. Going back to some of the
Said that in
rituals,
fun, really.
going back to some of the rituals in the book. Now, this isn't some get rich quick scheme or nothing like that. Everything you say takes time, effort, dedication, devotion, and I think people probably should be mentally ready for that, or else they're not going to complete anything. They're just going to stop and quit. It's like this isn't working. This shit, you know. I'm assuming that every single thing that you listed, you've tried. Am I correct in saying that?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And
Um, it wasn't really about pre-planning the ritual or like writing the ritual though. It just happened. It's where you go into this trance state, right? And the spirits guide it. So I would have this talk to text thing open on the computer, usually. And I'd have to go back and do a lot of editing. But the spirit would tell me, utilize the litany of the Black Sun. And so I would read that out of the Avesta and just perform what I was told to perform, dude. And so that's how it works. And that's really how I teach my students to be. Magic is something that happens. You write a few rituals just to see that you have the ritual praxis down. You know how it works. But you want to get beyond that and just simply do magic. It's like dancing. You just feel the rhythms of the subtle energies and it just fucking happens, you know? And then the spirits tell you this is how it was supposed to be. This is how it must be done. And then you're like, oh, so I was the manifestation base for this ritual, which is a living thing. Yeah, that's what it's like. That's crazy. It's an interesting dynamic.
it's a very interesting dynamic. And you mentioned something like filling the flow like dancing. And to my
Yeah.
horror, I might have to find something else like boxing because I dance like a brick. Like it's terrible. Although I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
seeing you do some dancing. You and Bonnie, you're gonna have to do something for us one day.
Well, I mean, dude, like even the dark Steota, like that shit, it's like riding a bike, you know. Panam I Aharman Hivade, Aharmanias no Amai, Aharmanias no Dregvin Tim Hamreathwatuzda, Pirosgar Pak Hamayastar, Steomai Shaitan Ariman, Kaitan Qua Alabatu Drejalak, Kaitan Qua Alabatu Azxiri Nuis, Kaitan Qua Alabatu Akarasta, Peichin Tim Kaitan Qua Alabatu Okmonosho Yatuki Saba. Like this shit is just there. And people are like, I'm so confused about this Steota. How do you pronounce it? But all the instructions are there. It's all lined out that it's not really a language to be read. It's a spirit of evil sound. Like the letters in sequence are inspiration. You allow sounds to flow as you maintain thoughts and images in your mind. And then the sounds become vehicles that permeate the fabric of reality with your intention.
Uh, this might be a stupid question for you, but would it be good doing something like that in a type of echo chamber where the sound actually bounces off the walls and resonates around you, where you can literally feel the vibrations coming from it to perhaps even enhance what you're doing and really just let it
Dude,
flow?
I would love to experience that because the sound would be moving through you,
Yeah.
and that is really what we want to affect mostly with dark steota. See, within a specific, I guess we'll call it denomination of Zarathustrianism, The Steota, the holy speech, the holy dialect, Avesta, it had scientific importance. They literally claim to have scientifically tested the effect of Steota on this plane of existence as compared to Vedic mantra. This had something to do with glass that changed color according to the pitch, and the Steota somehow broke it. I don't understand the science behind it. I'd call it pseudoscience, but still, they considered it to have scientific importance. But it's about creating change out there. Dark Steota is more about changing in here. So an echo chamber, dude, that would be an amazing experience. I gotta try that now, man. I gotta put that on my bucket list.
Put it on the
Seriously.
bucket list. You know what? There are a few temples that I know they're open to the public, and they have this weird the dome. You know how they're dome shaped and everything, words echo and all of that. You could try doing that in there if you could get permission to just be by yourself, so you can have total focus and just let it ride. And I bet you that would be such a powerful experience, powerful thing.
Right. I bet. Especially in a temple in a holy place to recite Dark Steota. Aruman, yeah, that stirs his essence quite a bit,
So
just like him.
how how did you keep from losing yourself? Like, because you went through the works, and it's a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of, I don't want to say awakening, but we'll say acknowledgement that has to happen, and you have to see yourself almost differently, and dealing with these beings, ancient beings. Like, how do you not lose yourself?
I was close. My mom wanted to admit me into a mental institution. I started to really scare her. I lived in isolation, never left the house. I had a lot of people remember this. I began to paint all of my rooms in chalk paint. And yeah, my mom thought I was nuts. But that was a long time ago. Jesus Christ. Regardless, how? Let me tell you, man, the work was the medicine. See, I think I was reaching a point of a mental breakdown, an emotional breakdown, psychological breakdown. Were these interactions real? Yeah, they were fucking real because I experienced them. They might not be real to you, but Jesus Christ, I experienced them. So yeah, they're fucking real. I broke, and it was constant. Like I said, these forces started to become my guiding light, my guiding darkness, my friends, my allies. Took me to some dark places, man. But the work itself helped to bring me back into this world, dude, to perform the ritual. It would shut all of that off and get me back into this fucking world. It was all I had. It's all I had. It was my fucking medicine. It was a way of somehow exercising my demons, doing the work, allowing it to just flow out, expressing myself, allowing the archetypes, the principles that these forces represent within guide the entire fucking process and just let it pour out. And alchemical shit came out. It was very complex. There's no money magic, nothing like that. It's all about dark alchemy. Yeah, it's about waging war with the gods of false light, the only grimoire to ever do that. But what's ironic is this: when you go to wage war with the gods of false light, you find out that it's not some astral fucking battle. This isn't some LFM kind of encounter. No, it's just about reintegrating these forces of false light because they're false because they're externalized. They're a part of you, just like the wicked one. So you take that shit back, and that liberates them as well. It takes them outside of that religious box and allows you to apply them in ways that are fucking real and practical in the world. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So is this shit ancient psychodrama or even psychological medicine? Could be. Definitely has value in such ways. It did for me experientially. Is it limited to that though? I don't think so. That's why I'm trying to talk to specific people in regard to some of this stuff, you know?
What if a skeptic, and we all know skeptics and everything, that's fine. What if they came up to you and challenged you and said, all right, prove it to me. Prove that everything you said is legit to me. Do you think you would take up that challenge, or would you just say, go fall off a cliff or something, or would you say, okay?
I don't think I can do that. My truth is not your truth. Aruman is us. And the truth is, he expresses himself through each of us in unique ways. Akomana, same. Solar, same. Astovidat, the same. All of them. Aishma, Hashem, all of them. Um, so, yeah, why? I don't have anything to prove. I don't. I don't really give a shit.
I can agree with that.
When I teach people, when someone will learn, what happens is they start to see that I show people historical sources for some of these concepts and principles. When we're referencing historical events like King Artashir being Artaxerxes, they get shown how to research this shit for themselves, start connecting their own dots. You give them supportive reading material and they learn on themselves. And the information becomes theirs. You can't really just give somebody this bag of truth and think that it's going to work for them. You have to experience it for yourself. So that's what I try to do is allow people a vehicle to understand that I am just the finger, right? Like Enter the Dragon,
Mm.
Bruce Lee. He slaps the little kid on the head. Don't pay attention to the finger, or you'll miss all of that heavenly glory. See, I'm just the finger pointing to the moon. The path itself is yours. That's where the heavenly glory is. It's your exploration, it's your discovery. It's getting people to experience that, to do that. It's not about promoting my version of Alash Tad, Alash Ta, Alash Tu, or some fucking weird circle, or anything like that. It's getting people to think outside of the box. It's showing people that there is a lot of misinformation that is taught these days by people who are not educated in this field. They weren't actually taught by anybody that's worth a shit. God, I don't know why I said that, but hey.
Oh,
It is what it is,
on tape now. Um,
right?
yeah. So, um, yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Basically, like, first of all, I would say you have to be open to wanting to see something or even learn to begin with. You know,
Yeah,
you can't say prove it and have a closed mind. Otherwise, you know, it's just not going to work. And then doing the work yourself after being shown a little bit of a path, yeah, because it's like I said early on, it's different for everyone. Like everyone who reads this
yeah,
book, they're going to take something different from it. It's just how it is. You have nothing to fear from it. It's a difficult read, but you have nothing to fear from it. And you will take something away, even if you don't practice what's in there. It's You're taking something away. It's just that simple.
yeah.
Everyone
Yeah, you're
gains.
gonna learn. You're gonna fucking learn things, man. I learned shit watching it. That's why I know, guys. Listen, when I got my mind in the way, the work started turning to garbage. I suffered consequences. I made mistakes. When I was able to just get myself out of that way, out of the way of those potentials, what came out was just, it's a lie. It's like Dr. Frankenstein type shit. It will speak to you in individual, unique ways. I learn something every time I read it. It's insane. But yeah, man, it's worthy read for sure. Think your way through it, and goddamn, you come out just mentally charged. Like, wow, I see. I see different now. It's fucking, but there's no unseeing. But that's okay, because then the journey begins. The journey of personal empowerment. And we got to understand that Aruman is so much bigger than Aruman. So, no, it doesn't mean that Aruman is going to make your life a living hell. What it means is these different doorways of potential and insight that open up start to be applicable to shit outside of the Persian current. And so it enriches that work. Let's talk about one specific one. It's something I've never talked about publicly before, but invocation. Invocation is something we call reverse possession. It's where we step into the consciousness of the divine potential to see reality through its eyes. This originated within Black Magick of Ahriman. It's the first time I encountered this concept. It came forth because within that Persian current, you could not invoke. You couldn't bring these spirits inside of you because they were already in you. They were already a part of you. And so I'm like, one time during contact with Akomana, like, okay, so there's no invocation. What do I teach? And then bam, I started to see things differently. And I'm not saying like, hallucinating like geometric patterns and shit like that. It was just this awareness of the interconnectedness of all fucking things. And I saw things differently, meaning I perceived things through different perception. Like my worldview was fucking different, man. I saw shit different. The world, fucking politics, things like abortion and shit that, wow, like why? This was invocation and it was powerful. I now took that and began to apply it, realizing that it's what Crowley failed at in the past. His goal was to cross the boundary of the circle, step into the triangle, and unite. And then I realized that I did it. within Black Magick of Ahriman. So I started applying it in current 166 as it was developing. And yeah, it's fucking powerful, dude. It's powerful. And a lot of people will say, oh, it's just God form assumption. No, it isn't, because God form assumption is something they teach in the Golden Dawn and Thelema. It's where you visualize a God form so intensely that it becomes substantiated on the aether. You step in your consciousness into it and you use it as a vehicle on the astral plane. That is not the same thing as evoking a spirit to manifest and then crossing the boundary of the circle in faith, step into the presence of the God. That's different. And it's a part of the alchemical process.
We're going to start wrapping up here, but I'm going to put you on the spot, Kurtis, and ask you something that I always think about, and we briefly spoke about it, but are we gods? We being humans, living beings, are we gods?
Yeah, when I say that we are all scales on the body of the one, you are the one. I am the one. You guys are the one. You girls are the one. We are all a cell on the body of the one dragon. Some of us are diseases, cancer cells, not conducive to the greater good of the totality of the one dragon, the greater good of all, if we want to put this in a practical way. But yeah, man, we have great potential for creation and destruction. I try to constantly push that in myself. The key is learning how to use that in their proper context. Like I have to destroy stasis, staying still, by learning to do shit like this, learning how to work on these machines, learning how to create support structures for 3D files so that I can make three-dimensional objects. And then there's the art of painting and all of that crazy shit. It's all to exercise that process, but it is also destruction as well as creation. So yeah, it's all practical. We are God, we are the devil. And the key here is to understand that these things are not at war with one another. Understand that although Aruman and Ahura Mazda are not twins, God and the devil are the one you. And both sides serve their purpose. You just have to consciously find out what they're good at doing and allow them to do that.
Okay, I like that. I think that's where we will end it. Um, Kurtis, where can people find you if they want to, catch some of your content or maybe learn from you or something like that? Where can they find you?
They can go to my website, kurtisjoseph.com. Shoot me an email there. There's information about the various consultation packages. We do have our apprentice course that is open for booking until the last Friday of August. You could also find me on Patreon. If you just need to gain some insight, ask me a question, you can find me on Facebook as well. There's a Soul Science Facebook group. You can find me there. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay, and
YouTube,
oh,
YouTube, Kurtis Joseph. I'll definitely fucking blow your mind with some awesome material that you can apply and learn from. It's free. Just go sub.
and those links can be found in the description below. And you guys, so you can know, Curtis streams every Friday at 5 p.m. PST. So that is 7 p.m. where your time. What is that, Central?
Central.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be sure to join him, join everyone. It's always fun over there, and you're always learning something. And
Okay.
while you're checking out those links, be sure to also follow Unexplained Possibilities on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and Instagram. Those links are also in the description below. Kurtis, thank you again for coming on. And thank you, everyone in chat, for hanging out with us. And I appreciate it. And to all the new subscribers, we got an influx today. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
And with that said, remember, guys, there are things that go bump in the night. Go ahead and tell them hi. Bye, everybody.